Hello, everyone, and welcome to the February 14th, Valentine's Day in North America, Sidereal Insights Astro Update broadcast. I'm Phaedra. It's good to have you on with me today. Kind of excited to talk about what we have coming up. It's kind of an interesting week that we have going on, astrologically speaking, and so we'll dive into why that is and how that is in just a moment. So, February, halfway over. Can you believe it? Welcome to Sidereal Insights. So, on this broadcast, every 2 weeks, we explore the transits of the current planetary activity across the heavens from a Western sidereal perspective. And so, I use the Fagan-Bradley Zodiac in my practice. I'm Phaedra. I'm the astrologer and artist of Mystick Physick Astrology. So you may want to have your Fagan-Bradley natal chart handy as we go through the broadcast. And really my aim is to offer you guidance on how you can consciously use the energy of the transiting planets to affect your life in a positive way. Basically, it's about learning to respond to our transits rather than simply react to them. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me today. I want to invite you to like and share the broadcast, tag a friend if you know someone who might be interested in what we're going to be talking about today. And be sure to follow us on social media. We're on a lot of different social media platforms, including Facebook, including Twitter. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, and that way you don't miss a broadcast. Today, we're going to be recapping recent and current transits. We're going to be recapping what's going on with Mercury retrograde, and we're going to explore the coming couple of weeks now through the end of the month in terms of February's astrology, and we're going to talk specifically about the late February full moon in Leo. Now, one thing to note, just a few days ago, we had our new moon in Sidereal Capricorn. I'm not going to rehash that topic. I'm going to invite you to go back and watch the last broadcast or watch the new moon in Capricorn guided intention setting broadcast that we did. Either of those will get you up to speed on what you might need to know about the most recent new moon that we've had. Right now, though, all of our planets are currently in direct motion, with the exception of Mercury, which of course is the most squirrely of all the retrograde planets, as we all have come to learn through our personal experiences. He went retrograde on January 30th. He'll be direct again February 21st. So coming up in just about a week. And we'll talk about how you can tap into the Mercury retrograde energy while he's retracing his steps in Capricorn. We do have a couple of new moon opportunities coming up once he does station direct, and that will be where I want to point you to having a heads up about what you would like to begin, what major initiations you would like to make for this year, for 2021, because you'll have 2 new moons in which to make those major initiations while having the support of all the planets in the solar system that we concern ourselves with, astrologically speaking, here on Earth, in forward motion, or apparent forward motion, I guess is what you could say. I'm just going to double check. Okay, everything looks good. This is nice. I'm glad. Alrighty. So, Mercury is in Capricorn right now. He went into Aquarius for a few days before he stationed retrograde, and then early February he backtracked into Capricorn. And with Mercury in Capricorn, we tend to have our mind on more practical matters, more practical ambitions. It's about analyzing structures and foundations for integrity and understanding where, in this particular case, we might need to destroy in order to rebuild for a stronger foundation, or rebuild on a stronger foundation. I did mention early on in his beginning of his transit of Capricorn, which started back in January 5th, that there was a risk of destructive arguments that could cost friendships, or sudden changes, fortune, which destabilize social structures in our lives or the work we do within organizations. And for you to consider, how are you expending your social capital and influence? Now, with Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, there could be an opportunity to repair any damaged relationships or social networks which may have come up for us during the month of January. So be sure, if that's something that you're inclined to do, that you use the remainder of the Mercury retrograde transit to make that effort while you have Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. We also, right now, and I'm hoping my notes are right because I'm realizing there's some things here that I didn't quite correct or update as I was going through. I was so busy scribbling out all my notes on the coming charts that I didn't check parts of my notes for the broadcast. We have Venus right now in Capricorn. Began January 28th. She joined Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto there in Sidereal Capricorn. She'll be there until February 21st, which is the day, again, that Mercury stations direct. We'll talk about that here in a minute. We have Mars in Aries for just a little bit longer until February 23rd. And Mars in Aries is really about taking decisive action towards your objectives or towards the objectives of a higher authority with whom you align. And what I mean by that, as we talked about last time, is the objectives of this authority either align with yours, your personal objectives, or they support the manifestation of your objectives. So this is really about acting with intention and giving birth to what you desire, putting the focus on your own needs and wants, at least for a brief period of time. Move on to my final point on Mars and Aries. This is a time to be assertive. Not aggressive, though. Be assertive. Okay? It's about asserting your will, asserting your desire, asserting what it is you want and need, and taking initiative towards those things, right? So we also have Jupiter in Capricorn for a little bit longer until April of this year. So about a little over a month and a half left of Jupiter's transit of Capricorn. So keep that in mind. This is an opportunity to move towards truth in your Capricorn house. I was encouraging folks to aim for results, not be satisfied with appearances or be satisfied with perceptions. Perceptions can be misleading. Our perceptions can be manipulated. So this is about getting to the fundamental truth of matters and really taking a close and honest look at what are the results that you're getting over time, and are they the results that you wanted for yourself? Okay. Saturn, of course, is also in Capricorn, so that's where you're being tested in life right now, is in your Capricorn house, and that's going to continue for a little, almost, but not quite, another 2 years. And, of course, Mercury's retrograde, so this is something that started back in late January. And we've talked pretty much about most everything that I think is important and relevant to Mercury being retrograde in Capricorn. But keep in mind, Mercury retrograde is always an opportunity to review and rework any Mercury-related activities. And so in this case, especially any that you were dealing with or working on or initiating during the month of January. Okay. So he'll be in Capricorn retrograde until the 21st, direct in Capricorn until March 12th, right before the Aquarius new moon. That happens March 13th. And this retrograde is a time to make tweaks and adjustments and course corrections, right? And actually, that's a theme that comes up with some upcoming transits as well involving Venus. And so we're going to talk about that course correction type of concept here in a little more detail here in just a few moments. But like I said, this is also an opportunity to reconcile with those with whom you may have had a falling out. Or if not to reconcile, at least to clear the air, right? And then a final point on this retrograde. The retrograde brings Mercury back into conjunction with Jupiter today. And again, once he returns to direct motion on March 5th. And so those are dates you're going to want to keep an eye on. Especially as they may bring further developments related to events or situations that may have cropped up when Mercury first conjoined Jupiter. Okay. So Mercury in Capricorn is about, based on the astrology of the chart when he first entered, the needs of the self versus the needs of the other. So this is a time when you can re-examine your wants, needs, and desires versus those of your partner and whether or not they're in alignment. Because things change, we change, circumstances change, life changes, right? or to re-examine the wants, needs, and desires of your home and family versus career. And then, like we were saying, make course corrections, review and recalibrate. And you have another week to kind of continue those efforts. And then from the 21st on until March 12th, that's the window when I would encourage you to begin making those necessary changes that you've identified as being changes that you need to implement. And this is especially true for folks who are either in a relationship, considering starting a relationship, or considering ending a relationship, and also true for those who have a family or are considering to start a family, or whose children are grown and independent, and you're beginning or kind of entering into a new phase of life. Okay? That's a stage where career or other things may begin to be your primary focus as opposed to child rearing. Just keep in mind that actions that you may be taking during this time are potentially in the public eye, and they could have an effect on your home and family life. Okay? And then, let's see, I'm skipping over some notes that I want to actually touch on in a future broadcast. These are notes we touched on in a prior broadcast. New moon in Capricorn. Venus conjoining Jupiter the same day. We just had that, February 11th. That new moon took place at 28 degrees 14 minutes of Capricorn, and I would encourage you to go back and watch either the new moon in Capricorn guided intention setting broadcast for more in-depth detail on that new moon, or back up and catch the last Sidereal Insights Astro update from the 31st of January where we talked about that new moon as well. The sun just entered into Aquarius on February 13th. And this is about moving towards what you've always wanted for yourself. Like I was saying, this is an opportunity to reconcile while Mercury's retrograde. While the sun is in Aquarius, this is an opportunity to reconcile with a lover or to rethink your values around how important are certain things to you. How important is money? How important is material satisfaction, material enjoyment? Where do you find solace? What keeps you warm at night? And it's about moving towards what is really going to fulfill you. Maybe these are things you thought you wanted, but you're finding out now that they're not as fulfilling as you thought they might be. And maybe you're just needing some emotional connection. Move towards what fulfills you, but get really clear on what that is first. This is an opportunity to reestablish a relationship or a partnership, and especially one that could give you access to new resources that you don't have access to right now, or that perhaps you've never had access to. Resources that you can maybe bring to bear for your benefit and for the partner's benefit as well. Okay, now coming up, we have kind of an interesting week between now and the 21st in terms of some of the astrology that's going to be taking place. Could start off today as kind of like a dreamy date night opportunity for Valentine's Day, but then there's a chance it could head south from there. So just be aware, keep an antenna up for the potential for breakdowns in relationships or money or business matters. Okay. There's kind of some destabilizing energy and aspects coming up here in the next week to 10 days or so. But it begins today with Mars sextile Neptune for Valentine's Day in North America. This is, like I said, that lovely energy for kind of a dreamy date night at home. The Venus square Mars aspect that's coming that we're going to talk about in a little bit more depth in just a moment. This could create, some kind of tension, some kind of intimate tension that you could capitalize on for Valentine's Day if you're wanting to have, a romantic experience. But keep in mind, coming up in just a few days, we're going to have a Saturn square to Uranus on the 17th of February. And this is where the destabilization can really kick in. So we're within orb of this aspect, just a few minutes out from it being exact. So it could be active right now for Valentine's Day for some of you, especially those who have heavy fire sign activity in their natal charts or cardinal energy. You may find that those astrological energies manifest just ahead of when an aspect reaches perfection. That's something to always note and keep in mind. But this is about shaking the foundations of something, destabilizing it. And there's really a strong indication for the potential for emotional instability at this time. There could be disappointment within partnerships or within partnership related to partnership matters or business matters, matters affecting status or direction of a relationship. And this could be, a long-term committed relationship such as marriage, or it could be a business relationship or partnership as well. Okay. Now, this disappointment is possibly due to deception or to idealization. If we've idealized a partner or idealized a situation, maybe we're not seeing things clearly. Maybe we're looking at the situation or the person with rose-colored glasses, so to speak. And this is also an aspect that is heavy on throwing off of tradition, rebellion against the status quo, or rebellion and pushing back against our limitations, against obstacles that might be in the way between us and what it is we're wanting or where we feel led. Okay. And then just a few days later, on the 19th of February, we have our Venus square Mars reaching exactness. This is where we can potentially manifest a risk of conflict in partnerships, in business, in home or family matters. It's possible that family issues that we had thought settled might come back up. Okay, we can experience maybe a lack of cooperation or uncooperativeness with partners or within partnerships. A partner might be a little bit unpredictable or disruptive or erratic in their behavior, such as going back on something that they said they'd do. Now, if that's the way you experience this Venus square Mars coming up on the 19th, just note that particular behavior can be a control and manipulation tactic. So have an antenna up for a partner trying to control or potentially trying to manipulate you into a desired outcome that may not be in your best interest. It can also be used in that sense as kind of like a punishment type of tactic. So just be aware of that. There may be anger over the use of joint resources or a partner's resources. A female figure may be trying to call the shots financially, or maybe in that position of calling the shots financially. And you may be rethinking investments in home, in residence, in real estate due to new information that comes to light related to Mercury's retrograde. These are all types of things that can come up during this particular Venus square Mars that we're coming into on the 19th. So just kind of have an antenna up for these potentialities. Mercury is going to station direct on the 21st. We were talking about that. Same day that Venus enters Aquarius. Now, this is the 21st based on GMT. So Mercury is going to station direct for most of the rest of the world on the 20th of February, right? So just kind of keep an eye on the days around the 20th, 21st for erratic behavior from Mercury, right? Because he's a little bit more unpredictable when he's stationary, and his energy is a lot more intense when he's stationary. This is true for any planet at the stationings of a retrograde, beginning or ending. And this is where we want to get into or revisit that conversation around changing course. Okay, this is about changing course in love or in partnership, changing course in business or in money matters. This could be about experiencing a shift in values or recognizing that your values have changed and what used to be important to you is not so important any longer, and maybe new things are important, things that you didn't place a lot of value on previously. It could also be about conflicting or differing values in relationships or in partnerships or in business. What's the word I want? Starts with a C. Business, not cooperation. Anyway. It could be about where you're seeing values don't align. Okay, and alignment in values, one thing to keep in mind about this point is that alignment in values is fundamental to maintaining long-term relationships, especially effective ones. If your values don't align, it's not likely that that relationship is going to have the longevity that you might want it to have. So keep that in mind. This is also about our need for love, our need for creativity and creative expression, our need for self-expression. Okay, so this is about the urge to take the lead or taking charge of your destiny. Okay. It can also suggest unexpected social benefits to bucking the status quo in a relationship or in a partnership. There may be an opportunity to turn to friends or turn to a social support network during this time. With Venus entering Aquarius the same day as Mercury stations direct, this is really about transformation of your relationship with others and how transforming those relationships or transforming a relationship, maybe a primary relationship, about how it can bring value and emotional fulfillment. This is a time to destroy and rebuild, destroy and rebuild. Okay. There is also, with this Venus transit of Aquarius, the potential for kind of a busy public life, or shakeups to public perception, or shakeup to status or reputation. There's the potential for financial or partnership disruption or instability during this transit. And there's potential for financial disappointments related to other people's resources. However, right action may overcome that. So have an antenna up and be watchful of indications as to what that right action might be for you. Of course, it'll be different for all of us, won't it? But this is a time during Venus's transit of Aquarius to act in your own best interest, to take a leap of faith towards your dream. And this dynamic that we've been talking about is active through March 17th while Venus is in Aquarius. Okay. On the 23rd, so just 2 days after Venus enters Aquarius, we have Mars entering Taurus, and he'll be there until April 15th. So a little over a month and a half, a month and 3/4-ish. Mars in Taurus, this transit is about taking action in your Taurus house, your Taurus ruled house, based on your sidereal natal chart, to transform circumstances, transform events, transform your experience, and how doing that, how taking action to transform what's going on in that house for you can have a surprising effect on your public image or your career in a good way. Okay? This is the energy of plow and plant. So what you want to do is keep your actions and motivations secret until it's the right time to go public with your transformation or the right time to give birth to what it is you're gestating while Mars is in Taurus. Okay? It's also the energy of don't get too comfortable, right? This is a reminder that comfort leads to stagnation and atrophy. And that's what you don't want, right? And then also, this is a time during Mars and Taurus for you to invest in your own metamorphosis. Okay, be an active participant in transforming your own life. Take care of your spiritual needs while Mars is in Taurus this time around, and engage in some grounding practices. That's going to be essential towards helping you take care of your own spiritual needs, okay? Now, one thing I do want to call out is that coming up in March, and we'll talk about this on a future broadcast, coming up in March, we have Mars going out of bounds. And so once Mars moves out of bounds, which will last through, once he goes out of bounds, it'll last through the end of his transit of Taurus and well into his transit of Gemini. While he's out of bounds in Taurus, we have the experience of there being a risk of being overly bullheaded or overly obstinate or engaging in bullying behavior. Okay, we'll talk, like I said, more about that coming up on one of our next broadcasts as we get closer to Mars's moving out of bounds. But I want to call that out and give you a heads up to just kind of be aware that that is on the horizon and that can potentially cause problems in our lives when we're overly bullheaded, when we're too obstinate, or when we're engaging in bullying behavior. Okay. We do have, and I didn't put the date down here. Where's the date for this? Mars coming up to trine Pluto. That'll be on the 25th of February. And this is really a time when change can come easy, where you want to be taking action towards transformation, right? So we're talking about Mars moving into Taurus and being an active participant in your own transformation. Well, a good time to take action towards that is when Mars is trining Pluto on the 25th. This is a time when you may want to destroy something that needs to be destroyed, right? What's an example of this? Well, this isn't necessarily related to Mars and Taurus, but an example of destroying something, because you think of destruction as being undesirable. Well, you shred documents that you don't want other people to get their hands on, right? That have private or personal information. Well, that's one example of when or why or how you might want to destroy something that needs to be destroyed, right? So there's times when destruction and actively engaging in it can actually be a productive activity. And Mars trine Pluto is a good time to be engaging in that. And it's a good time to be making transformational changes in your own life, because they'll come easier than if you were to try to do them at a different time or under different aspects. Mars trine Pluto is a time for tapping into the ability, or at least in this chart, it's a time for tapping into the ability to be persuasive with your words, or influential in your community through partnership initiatives. Okay? And then finally on the 27th, right towards the end of the month, we're going to have our full moon in Leo. This will be at 13 degrees 55 minutes of Leo, exact at 8:17 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Of course, the sun rules our full moon in Leo, but the sun is in his detriment at the full moon in Leo. So this is kind of something to be aware of. Be cognizant of the risk of acting in ways that turn out to be detrimental to you, okay, not in your best interest. This chart really suggests that at this full moon we have the potential to be spontaneous and receptive to sudden insights or strokes of genius. There's an opportunity to shine in a social activity, but responsibly, of course, right? Remember, we're in the middle of a novel pandemic, so you don't necessarily want to be getting together in groups with people. But spontaneity at this time can make us socially attractive, right? This kind of speaks to the attractiveness of courage or of confidence. And it takes a little bit of courage or confidence to be spontaneous in a social situation or within a group of people, right? Now, keep in mind, it's not necessarily the same thing as impulsiveness. And impulsive behavior is one of the ways in which detriment can rear its ugly head, right? But you could take an impulsive step towards manifesting a long-held hope or dream in your Leo house with this full moon. It's definitely a time to be using your creative mind to find novel and unusual and inventive ways to socialize, to make new friends, or to coordinate group activities. Okay? And so if something has disappointed in a love or money matter, transform your approach at this full moon. Have an antenna up for insight or inspiration into what this is or what to do. What's the path forward, the correct action to take, okay? Typo in my notes. All right. Also, with this full moon, I want to leave the comments on this full moon on a final note. This full moon is about speaking your truth. Okay? So speak your truth with this full moon. And then looking ahead in early March, we'll have Mercury's third conjunction with Jupiter during the retrograde cycle. It engaged additional conjunctions with Jupiter because of Mercury's apparent retrograde motion, right? So the third retrograde in that cycle will be March 5th before he re-enters Aquarius for good on March 12th, right before our new moon in Aquarius, March 13th, which is the first new moon of 2021 when we'll have all planets in direct motion. So keep your eye on that date and be prepared for making a major initiation. There's also, in the early days of March, kind of a cluster of conjunctions between the Sun, Venus, and Neptune. We'll talk about those. And, of course, Mars going out of bounds March 21st. But we'll talk about all that and more on the next Sidereal Insights Astro Update broadcast, which is when? Let's have a look at the calendar here. Coming up on the 28th of February. Okay. Now, I do have a few announcements to cover for you. We do have, I'm really excited about this. I've been actually talking about it on the last several broadcasts. A new podcast. If you prefer to take in your astrology via podcast, you can check out the Mystick Physick Astrology podcast on anchor.fm/Mystick Physick, and you can support the broadcast through anchor.fm if you like. We always welcome your support, as it helps bring us all of important and notable astrological activity from a Western sidereal perspective. I'm going to invite you also to follow us on social media. On Facebook, you can like and share the broadcast, subscribe to the Mystick Physick Astrology YouTube channel. Sign up for a free printable February Ultimate Astrological Planner calendar page at the link that I've included in the video description, and that gives you the opportunity to kind of see what you'd be getting your hands on when you purchase a 2021 Ultimate Astrological Planner. I give you color-coded best days for love, for luck, for business for the entire year, along with color-coded Mercury retrograde and Mercury retrograde shadow periods so that those won't sneak up on you. And you can also order a personalized Ultimate Astrological Planner if you'd like to have a planner that is loaded with your own personal best days for love, for luck, and for business for the coming year. I want to thank you all for joining me. You can check out those planners at mystickphysick.com/2021. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.